Hey there, gentle souls. Tonight we journey to a place where love was an art form so intricate, so beautifully complex, that even the simplest glance could carry a lifetime of meaning. Imagine a world where romance lived, not in grand gestures, but in the whisper of silk fans, the placement of a single cherry blossom, the timing of a moonlit shadow. Welcome to Edo, Japan, where hearts spoke in a language you've never heard before. And tonight you'll discover why these ancient lovers would leave you breathless. So settle in, dear listeners. Let your shoulders drop, your breathing slow, and your mind drift toward rest. We're about to explore the most tender secrets of history together. And if this journey toward peaceful sleep resonates with your heart, gently tap that subscribe button. Let Hearts and History become your nightly companion as we wander through love's most beautiful moments across time. Now, close your eyes and let the soft winds of ancient Japan carry you away. Chapter 1: The Land of Rising Sun. Dawn breaks gently over Edo-period Kyoto, painting the ancient city in watercolor hues of amber and rose. The morning air carries the delicate fragrance of cherry blossoms, their pale petals drifting like whispered promises through narrow streets. Somewhere in the distance, the rhythmic clatter of wooden geta echoes against stone pathways. This is a world where every breath held poetry, where love bloomed in silence and subtlety. Here, beneath the watchful gaze of Mount Fuji, the Edo period unfolds like an intricate scroll from 1603 to 1868. Japan lived in peaceful isolation, creating a culture so refined that even romance became an art form. The Tokugawa shogunate brought stability, allowing traditions to flourish like gardens, carefully tended over centuries. In this sanctuary of beauty, love learned to speak without words, to touch without contact, to promise without sound. The city awakens with gentle reverence. Temple bells ring across terracotta rooftops, their bronze voices calling faithful hearts to morning prayers. Sliding paper doors whisper open, revealing glimpses of carefully arranged gardens where every stone, every branch has been placed with mindful intention. Steam rises from morning tea, carrying the earthy scent of matcha into rooms where sunlight filters through bamboo like liquid gold streaming through time itself. In these quiet streets where merchants arrange their wares with artistic precision, love wore the mask of propriety. Courtship was not a dance of bold declarations, but a symphony of subtle gestures: the flutter of a sleeve, the angle of a parasol, the color of a kimono chosen for a specific season. Each detail carried meaning deeper than oceans, more delicate than morning dew on lotus petals. Cherry blossoms drift past wooden lattice windows, their brief beauty a reminder that all precious things are fleeting beneath their branches. Young hearts learned the ancient art of silent communication. A fan held just so could say, "I long to see you." A carefully placed hairpin might whisper, "Meet me when the moon is full." Love letters were written not just in words, but in the very fabric of daily life. The sound of wooden sandals on cobblestone creates a rhythm as old as time itself. Clack, 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 like heartbeats echoing through centuries. Women move through the streets like flowing water, their silk kimonos rustling secrets only they understand. Beneath wide-brimmed straw hats, eyes speak volumes that lips dare not voice. Every gesture, a haiku; every glance, a love poem written on the canvas of morning mist. In the floating world of the pleasure quarters, artists painted ukiyo-e, pictures of the floating world, capturing moments of beauty as ephemeral as cherry blossoms. But beyond the entertainment districts, in quiet family homes and temple grounds, Another kind of floating world existed, where genuine affection bloomed, slowly, carefully, like rare orchids tended by patient gardeners who understood that true love cannot be rushed, only nurtured. The morning market comes alive with gentle commerce. Vendors call their wares in melodic voices that blend with temple chimes and distant shamisen music, persimmons arranged like sunset gems, lengths of silk that catch light like captured rainbows, ceramic tea bowls smooth as river stones. In this symphony of daily life, love found its rhythm, not in grand gestures, but in small kindnesses, shared silences, meaningful looks. Incense drifts from household shrines, carrying prayers to ancestors who watch over their descendants with gentle care. Families gather for morning rice, their conversations soft as falling snow. But beneath this peaceful domesticity, hearts harbor secrets tender as new leaves. Young people catch glimpses of each other at festivals, their eyes meeting for heartbeats before propriety demands they look away. These stolen moments become treasures hoarded like pearls. Gardens reveal themselves like open scrolls. Carefully raked gravel creates patterns that mirror ocean waves, while ancient pine trees stretch their arms toward heaven in practiced poses of devotion. Stone lanterns stand sentinel, ready to guide lovers through moonlit nights yet to come. Water trickles over carefully placed rocks, its music providing the soundtrack for whispered promises that will echo through these sacred spaces for generations. The sun climbs higher, warming paper screens and wooden beams that have witnessed countless seasons of human longing. Servants sweep courtyards with bamboo brooms, their rhythmic motions creating patterns in fallen petals. Somewhere, a kodo strings its melancholy notes into the morning air. Each sound, each movement, each breath becomes part of love's elaborate choreography, a dance performed in daylight, but meant for moonlit hearts to understand. This was the world of rigid social hierarchy, where love learned to bloom in the spaces between rules, where poetry lived not just in written verses, but in the way tea was poured, flowers arranged, letters folded, where romance became rebellion of the gentlest kind, two hearts finding each other across the careful distances that society demanded, like streams that find their way to the ocean despite mountains standing in their path. As morning deepens into day, the city settles into its ancient rhythms, but beneath the surface of this ordered world, passion stirs like underground springs. Young hearts discover that love speaks loudest in whispers, touches deepest through glances, promises strongest through silence. They learn that true intimacy is not about possession, but about understanding, not about declaring, but about listening to what cannot be said aloud. And so our journey begins in this land of rising sun, where love wore the most beautiful disguises, where romance became poetry written in gesture and breath, where hearts learned that the most powerful words are often the ones never spoken. Settle deeper into comfort now, dear listeners, for we are about to discover secrets so tender, so profound, that they will change how you understand love itself. Let the gentle winds of Edo carry you forward. Chapter 2: Mesmerizing Codes of Love. In the gentle twilight of Edo-period Japan, lovers spoke without words, their hearts beating in rhythm with the soft flutter of silk fans. Each delicate movement carried whispers of affection across crowded rooms. The fan became more than an accessory. It transformed into a secret language of longing, where every angle held meaning, every gesture painted emotions in the air. Tonight, we unlock these tender mysteries together. Picture yourself in a moonlit garden, cherry blossoms dancing on warm evening breezes. Here, a young woman holds her fan against her right cheek. This simple gesture speaks volumes to her beloved watching from across the courtyard. It means yes, a soft affirmation that sends his heart soaring. The fan pressed gently against her left cheek would whisper no. Such exquisite precision in matters of the heart, where silence spoke louder than words. The art of fan language required patience, like learning to read poetry written in sighs. When a fan rested against the lips, it carried the message, I wish to speak with you. Drawing it slowly across the cheek meant I love you. These movements flowed like water, graceful and unhurried, each gesture deliberate, yet appearing effortless. Lovers would spend hours perfecting these silent conversations, their devotion measured in the elegance of unspoken words. The position of an open fan told stories of desire held high near the face. It proclaimed, wait for me, lowered to rest against the heart. It declared, you have won my love. Twirling slowly between delicate fingers meant I wish we could be alone. These weren't mere gestures, but sacred rituals, each movement choreographed by centuries of romantic tradition, transforming simple bamboo and silk into instruments of the soul's deepest longings. When lovers needed to say goodbye, the fan became their gentle messenger. Closing it and pressing it to the heart meant you are always in my thoughts. Letting it rest against the right shoulder, whispered, meet me later. Holding it high above the head, declared, I am thinking of you. These partings, though silent, carried more emotion than any spoken farewell, the fan capturing tears that couldn't fall, preserving love that couldn't be voiced. The fans themselves were masterpieces, crafted with the care reserved for love letters. Delicate paintings of cranes symbolized eternal devotion. Cherry blossoms represented the fleeting beauty of romance. Bamboo groves spoke of unwavering strength. Pine branches promised longevity, each design element chosen with purpose. The fan becoming a canvas where emotions bloomed in watercolor and gold, every fold holding secrets, every pattern whispering promises of tomorrow's tender meetings. Master fan makers understood they were crafting instruments of the heart, the silk chosen for its ability to catch and hold light, bamboo selected for its gentle flexibility. The number of folds mattered too. 18 folds represented prosperity in love. 24 symbolized devotion through all seasons. Even the tassels carried meaning. Red for passion, white for purity, blue for constancy. Each element harmonizing to create a symphony of silent expression. Learning to read fan language was like discovering a hidden world where every flutter held meaning, every pause spoke volumes. Mothers would teach daughters this delicate art, passing down generations of romantic wisdom, the lessons conducted in hushed tones, hands guiding hands in the proper movements, this knowledge becoming a bridge between hearts, a way to speak when society demanded silence, love finding its voice through the gentle whisper of silk. In tea houses and gardens, lovers' eyes would search for the secret signals. A fan held against the forehead meant, do not forget me. Resting it on the right ear whispered, you have changed. Each gesture observed with breathless attention. Misreading a signal could break a heart. Understanding perfectly could mend one. These silent conversations flowed like rivers of meaning, connecting souls across spaces they couldn't bridge with words. The most tender gesture was the half-closed fan held near the lips. It carried the message, you may kiss me. This invitation, so subtle yet unmistakable, would set hearts racing, the recipient knowing they were trusted with the speaker's most vulnerable moment. Such moments were treasured, remembered in dreams, the fan becoming a keeper of promises, a witness to love's gentle victories over silence and distance. When jealousy stirred, the fan became a shield. Snapping it shut quickly meant you are cruel. Hiding the face behind it declared I am angry with you. These moments of discord were also part of love's language. Even anger spoke in graceful gestures, the fan allowing emotions to flow without losing dignity, protecting hearts while still expressing truth, teaching us that even conflict could be beautiful when handled with care. Seasonal fans carried their own poetry. Spring fans painted with young cherry blossoms spoke of new love. Summer fans adorned with cool streams promised refreshing devotion. Autumn fans decorated with maple leaves celebrated mature affection. Winter fans, featuring snow-covered pines, declared love's endurance through all hardships, each season bringing its own vocabulary of the heart, the fan adapting its voice to time's eternal rhythms. Festival days brought special fan etiquette during the Tanabata celebration. Lovers would exchange fans painted with stars, symbolizing wishes for their love to bridge any distance, like the celestial lovers Vega and Altair at cherry blossom festivals. Fans decorated with falling petals reminded hearts that beauty was precious because it was fleeting. These customs wove romance into the fabric of community life, making love a shared celebration. The most skilled practitioners could conduct entire conversations without words. A raised eyebrow paired with a fan's gentle tap, a soft smile accompanying a particular fold. These subtle combinations created complex messages, tales of hope, stories of longing, promises of faithfulness. The fan becoming an extension of the soul, amplifying emotions too delicate for speech, creating intimacy in the midst of crowds, privacy within publicity. As evening shadows lengthened and lovers prepared to part, the final fan gesture held special significance, placing it over the heart while bowing slowly, meant until we meet again, you remain here. This farewell, witnessed by moonlight and stars, sealed the day's silent conversations, the fan folding away secrets and promises, keeping them safe until tomorrow's gentle dawn would bring new opportunities for wordless devotion. These mesmerizing codes of love remind us that hearts always find a way to speak, even when voices cannot. The fan's gentle language, teaching us that the most profound emotions often dwell in silence, in gesture, in the spaces between words. Tonight, as we close this chapter, let your own heart remember that love, in all its forms, finds beauty in the unspoken, magic in the quiet moments, poetry in the pause. Chapter 3: The Lantern's Hues. As twilight embraces ancient Edo, countless lanterns begin their nightly dance across the city, each one a gentle beacon in the gathering darkness. These weren't merely sources of light, but vessels of the heart, carrying whispered secrets between lovers who dared not speak their feelings aloud. Tonight, we unveil the mystique of these glowing messengers, discovering how their soft amber hues became the language of forbidden romance in old Japan. Picture the narrow streets of Edo as evening descends. The air grows cool and still. One by one, paper lanterns emerge from wooden homes and tea houses. Their warm glow spills onto cobblestone paths like scattered stars. Merchants fold their wares as the city transforms into a realm of shadows and light. In this magical hour between day and night, love finds its voice through the tender illumination of handcrafted lanterns, and the art of lantern making was passed down through generations of skilled craftsmen. Each piece began as delicate bamboo frames, carefully bent and shaped by weathered hands. Then came the paper, thin as silk, yet strong enough to hold precious light within. Artisans would spend hours perfecting each fold, each curve, knowing that their creation might one day carry the weight of someone's deepest affections across the moonlit streets. Red lanterns spoke of passion and bold declarations, while soft pink hues whispered of gentle affection and new love. Blue lanterns carried messages of longing across great distances. Yellow ones brought joy and celebration to secret meetings. Each color held meaning, each shade told a story. Lovers became fluent in this silent vocabulary of light, reading emotions in the warm glow that danced through rice paper walls. When night fell completely, the lantern's true magic revealed itself. Their soft amber glow transformed harsh city corners into intimate spaces. Shadows grew longer and more inviting. The cool night air seemed to carry the warmth of their light, creating pockets of comfort where hearts could speak freely. In this gentle illumination, even the most timid souls found courage to express their hidden feelings. Clever lovers discovered that lanterns could carry messages beyond their colors, the way a lantern swayed in a window, whether it hung high or low, even the number of lanterns displayed, all became part of an intricate code of romance. A single lantern meant "I think of you." Two lanterns whispered "Meet me tonight." Three declared "My heart is yours." An entire conversation conducted through glowing paper and flickering flame. Hidden within the paper itself were symbols that spoke directly to the heart. Cherry blossoms painted delicately on red lanterns promised spring meetings. Cranes in flight suggested dreams of a future together. Bamboo designs hinted at strength and endurance in love. Butterflies danced across the surface, speaking of transformation and rebirth, each symbol carefully chosen, each brushstroke a whispered promise floating through the darkness. The rhythm of lantern placement became its own language. A lantern moved from window to garden gate meant safe to approach. One that disappeared entirely warned of danger or family presence. Lovers learned to read these signals like poetry, their hearts racing at the sight of familiar patterns, knowing that somewhere in the glowing maze of Edo's streets, their beloved was speaking to them through light and shadow. Master artisans took special pride in creating lanterns for lovers. They understood the sacred trust placed in their hands, using the finest mulberry paper that would glow like captured moonbeams, delicate brushwork that seemed to breathe with life, frames so perfectly balanced they would sway like dancers in the gentlest breeze, each piece a work of art worthy of the precious emotions it would carry. Different seasons brought their own lantern traditions. Spring lanterns bloomed with cherry blossom motifs. Summer ones featured cooling blues and flowing water designs. Autumn brought warm oranges and red maple leaves, while winter lanterns glowed with silver snow scenes. Lovers could speak of future meetings by choosing seasonal symbols, promising to meet again when the cherry trees bloomed or when snow fell softly on the temple grounds. In the delicate dance of Edo courtship, lanterns served as silent chaperones. Their gentle glow allowed for stolen glances without the harsh exposure of daylight. Young women could safely observe potential suitors from behind paper screens, while men could express their interest through the careful placement of their own lanterns, all under the watchful yet romantic embrace of flickering candlelight. When the moon rose full and bright, lovers would follow trails of strategically placed lanterns to secret meeting spots through bamboo groves and beside still ponds, each light a stepping stone toward romance. The lanterns would guide them to hidden tea houses or quiet temple gardens where whispered conversations could bloom safely. Their warm glow creating intimate bubbles of privacy in the vast night. Beyond romance, these lanterns brought comfort to cold Edo nights. Their paper shells held not just flame, but warmth itself. Families would gather around larger lanterns, sharing tea and quiet conversation. Children would press close to feel the gentle heat. In this way, lanterns became symbols of home and hearth, representing the warmth that love brings to even the darkest, coldest hours. During festivals, the entire city would come alive with thousands of lanterns, creating a sea of gentle light that connected every heart. Lovers could meet openly in these celebrations, their own private lanterns lost among the multitude, yet still meaningful, still carrying their secret messages. The community's joy, providing perfect cover for intimate moments shared beneath the vast canopy of glowing paper and bamboo. As centuries passed, the tradition of lantern messages continued, passed down from grandmothers to daughters, from fathers to sons, each generation adding their own meanings to the glowing vocabulary. The lanterns became living libraries of love, storing the romantic wisdom of ages in their simple paper forms, carrying forward the gentle art of speaking with light instead of words. Tonight, as we close our eyes and imagine those ancient Edo streets, we can almost see the lanterns swaying gently in the evening breeze, their warm hues painting the darkness with stories of love and longing. In their simple beauty lies a timeless truth that love finds a way to communicate, even when words fail, even across the centuries. The lantern's gentle glow continues to warm our hearts. Chapter 4: Gestural Affection. In the quiet streets of Edo, love spoke without words. Here, beneath paper lanterns and cherry blossoms, hearts connected through the subtlest of movements: a tilted fan, a lingering glance, the gentle positioning of hands during tea ceremony. These were the sacred languages of devotion. Lovers learned to read each other's souls through gestures so delicate they might have been whispers on the evening wind, each movement carrying the weight of unspoken promises, dreams, and tender hopes. Picture a young merchant's daughter, her fingers trace patterns on her silk sleeve. As she passes the blacksmith's shop, to untrained eyes, she merely adjusts her kimono, but he understands the three gentle touches mean "I think of you." This was their secret alphabet, written not in ink or paper, but in the poetry of human motion, every gesture rehearsed in solitude, perfected through longing, love expressed through the careful choreography of everyday moments. The tea ceremony became their sanctuary, where hands could speak what lips dared not. Notice how she positions the cup, the angle just so how his fingers linger near the bamboo whisk. These weren't accidents. In Edo society, direct affection was forbidden, so lovers transformed ritual into romance. The placement of a flower, the rhythm of pouring tea, each movement a verse in their silent song of devotion, beautiful in its restraint. Watch the marketplace come alive with hidden conversations. A vendor's wife arranges persimmons in a specific pattern. Her husband's gentle nod acknowledges the message, "I treasure you," spelled out in fruit. Nearby, a seamstress folds fabric with deliberate precision. Her sweetheart recognizes the pattern from their shared childhood game. These couples created entire vocabularies, from the ordinary transforming commerce into poetry, their love language written in the rhythm of daily life. The fan, oh, the elegant fan, became Cupid's most trusted messenger. Held at the heart meant deep affection. Fanned slowly near the face, whispered sweet longing, closed and pointed toward the garden, invited a secret meeting. Women mastered this art, like calligraphy, each flutter deliberate, each snap meaningful. Men learned to read these signals like ancient scripts. The fan transformed from cooling device to love letter, painted silk carrying the weight of countless hearts. In temple courtyards, prayers became love letters to the divine and to each other. Observe the young couple, both kneeling before the shrine, her hands pressed together, but see how her pinky extends slightly, touching his this fleeting contact, sacred and secret, speaks volumes. Under the watchful eyes of ancient gods, human hearts found ways to connect, turning devotion into a dance where earthly love and spiritual reverence intertwined like incense smoke. Evening brought the most tender gestures, lantern light casting dancing shadows. Here a woman slides her window screen just so, creating a sliver of warm light. Her beloved walking past sees this beacon, her signal that she thinks of him. Tomorrow he'll leave a single camellia on her doorstep, their nightly ritual of connection, wordless but powerful, love expressed through light and shadow, through the patient waiting of hearts that beat in perfect synchrony. The art of walking became a language unto itself. Notice the courtesan's apprentice, her steps deliberate, measured. She pauses at the bridge, adjusts her obi, not from vanity, but as a message. Her patron, watching from his shop window, understands. The pause means patience. The adjustment of the sash speaks of readiness. Even her shadow on the wooden planks tells a story. Every footfall a syllable in their ongoing conversation of the heart. Touch, when possible, held the power of lightning, a brushing of fingers while passing tea, an accidental bump of shoulders in the crowded market. These moments, lasting mere seconds, sustained lovers for days. In a society that valued propriety, such contacts became treasured. A merchant might spend his entire day replaying the instant their hands touched over a coin, that single gesture worth more than all his profits. Connection in its purest form. Gardens became stages for silent theater. Here, a gardener tends his master's chrysanthemums, his every movement watched from the house. He prunes in specific patterns, creates pathways that spell her name. She observes from her window, understanding his green poetry. Tomorrow, she'll place a single stone in their secret spot, acknowledging his message. Together, they author love stories in living art, using nature as their canvas, seasons as their chapters. The beauty of bowing, transformed from courtesy to confession. Watch the depth of his bow, slightly deeper than custom requires. Lingering just a moment longer, she responds with a bow of equal depth, equal duration. In this exchange, unspoken vows are made. Respect becomes romance. Tradition becomes intimacy, their bodies creating perfect parallels, mirrors of mutual devotion, demonstrating how love elevates even the simplest social graces into something transcendent and pure. Seasons brought their own gestural poetry. In spring, cherry blossom petals carried messages, dropped at precise moments, caught in sleeves like love letters. Summer fans whispered across crowded festivals. Autumn leaves, deliberately scattered, spelled names and promises. Winter brought the poetry of breath, visible in cold air, hearts synchronized in puffs of steam. Love adapting to nature's rhythms, finding expression in every season's gifts, timeless as the cycle of years. Musicians discovered love in their instruments. A shamisen player adjusts her strings, but the tension speaks to her beloved's mood. Too tight means worry. Perfectly tuned signals contentment. Loose strings whisper sadness. He responds through his flute, melodies that match her heart. Together, they compose symphonies without words, their emotions flowing through lacquered wood and silk strings, creating harmony that touches souls. music becoming the language of love itself. In the quiet moments before dawn, when Edo slept, lovers found their most precious opportunities. A candle moved from window to window, traced their names in light. Shadow puppets on paper screens told secret stories, hands creating birds, flowers, hearts, projecting love onto walls. These pre-dawn theaters, intimate and ephemeral, dissolved with sunrise, but their memories sustained hearts through endless days, proving that the most beautiful gestures often bloom in darkness. Food became another canvas for affection, the arrangement of rice grains, patterns that meant forever, chopsticks placed just so, creating symbols of unity, tea poured in specific rhythms, matching heartbeats. Even the folding of napkins carried meaning, origami birds, flowers, stars, each meal a love letter, sustenance for both body and soul, proving that nourishment and affection could intertwine, transforming the simple act of eating into communion. As our chapter closes, we see how Edo lovers mastered the art of silent devotion. Their gestures created a language more nuanced than words, more powerful than proclamations. In their restrained world, they found infinite ways to express infinite love through fans and flowers, through tea and touch, through the poetry of human movement. Their legacy reminds us that the heart speaks most eloquently when it whispers rather than shouts, in gestures gentle as cherry blossoms falling. Chapter 5, Moonlit Meetings. In the hushed world of Edo, when darkness fell like silk across the city, certain hearts began to stir with quiet longing. These were the hours when proper society slept, when rigid protocols loosened their grip, and love found its secret pathways through shadowed streets and hidden gardens. The moon became their silent confidant, casting silver light upon forbidden dreams that bloomed only in darkness. As midnight approached, lovers would slip away from their carefully ordered lives, leaving behind the watchful eyes of family and society. Their footsteps whispered against stone pathways, hearts beating in rhythm with anticipation. Each step carried them deeper into a world where rules bent like bamboo in the wind, where stolen moments held more worth than gold, and the simple act of meeting became an act of beautiful rebellion. The cherry blossoms understood these secret rendezvous, their petals catching moonbeams like tiny mirrors, creating a canopy of silver and shadow. Dewdrops clung to each delicate bloom, reflecting the lovers' hushed excitement. Beneath these ancient trees, time seemed to pause, allowing hearts to speak in languages older than words. The sakura became witnesses to promises whispered between souls, who dared to love beyond society's careful boundaries. Listen, can you hear the gentle rustling of silk kimonos, the way fabric whispered against fabric as lovers drew near? These sounds created a symphony of intimacy in the moonlit gardens. Each movement was poetry in motion, sleeves flowing like water, obi sashes catching starlight. The very clothing became part of their secret dance, colors muted to grays and silvers under the moon's tender gaze, beauty heightened by shadows, in hidden alcoves of temple grounds and private gardens. Lovers would arrange their clandestine meetings with the precision of artists. A folded fan left at a certain angle, a lantern placed just so. These were the coded messages of the heart, each symbol carrying volumes of meaning to those who understood the language of love, written in objects, in placement, in the careful choreography of desire and devotion. The anticipation was exquisite torture, hearts racing as appointed hours approached, minds replaying every stolen glance from daylight hours, the weight of secret love pressing against the chest like a beautiful ache. Each lover carried their passion like a hidden flame, warming them from within while they moved through their daily performances, knowing that moonrise would bring release from the day's careful pretense and proper behavior. When finally they met, the world transformed into something magical. Moonlight painted everything in silver dreams, turning ordinary spaces into sacred ground. Fingers would brush fingers, sending electricity through silk sleeves. Voices dropped to whispers that seemed to merge with the night breeze. In these moments, all the careful planning, all the risk, all the longing crystallized into perfect fragile happiness that felt both eternal and fleeting. They spoke in poetry, words chosen like precious gems, each syllable weighted with meaning. Compliments flowed like spring water, comparing beloved features to natural beauty, eyes like autumn leaves, skin like fresh snow, voices like temple bells. These meetings became exchanges of the most exquisite language, where lovers painted each other with words, creating portraits more beautiful than any artist's brush could capture in daylight. The moon above bore witness to tender moments, hands reaching across small spaces, fingertips tracing the edges of sleeves. These touches held more intimacy than grand gestures. Each caress was savored, stored in memory like precious treasures. Lovers memorized the texture of silk, the warmth beneath fabric, the quickened breathing that spoke of hearts racing in unison, physical connection measured in heartbeats rather than hours. Seasons painted their meetings in different hues. Spring brought cherry blossoms and the promise of new beginnings. Summer wrapped them in warm night air, thick with jasmine. Autumn scattered maple leaves like nature's confetti around their feet. Winter turned their breath to visible clouds, reminding them of the fleeting nature of these stolen moments, each season adding its own magic to their secret world. The emotional landscape of these meetings was complex as mountain terrain, joy mixed with fear, passion tempered by the knowledge of consequences. Lovers walked the delicate balance between fulfillment and restraint. Their hearts soared with the freedom to love, yet ached with the understanding that dawn would return them to separate worlds. This bittersweet tension made every moment more precious, more vivid. They created their own traditions within these forbidden spaces, small rituals that belonged only to them. The way she would arrange her sleeves just so, how he would present a single flower, the pattern of their conversations, moving from proper greetings to whispered confessions. These personal ceremonies wove threads of continuity through their secret relationship, making each meeting feel both fresh and familiar. Time moved differently in moonlight. Minutes stretched like honey, each second savored and held. Lovers learned to read each other's silences, to find meaning in the spaces between words. They developed a language of glances, of subtle gestures that spoke volumes. Communication became an art form, refined by necessity, made more beautiful by the constraints that shaped their secret world of midnight meetings. The sound of temple bells in the distance reminded them of time's passage, each chime counting down their precious moments together. But rather than rushing, they learned to exist fully in the present, to breathe in the night air, to feel the cool earth beneath their feet, and to store up sensations like squirrels gathering nuts for winter, knowing these memories would sustain them through long days of separation. As dawn approached, parting became an art of its own, lingering glances that tried to capture everything, promises whispered like prayers, the careful choreography of leaving, ensuring no trace remained of their meeting, sleeves smoothed, paths retraced in reverse, hearts heavy with the weight of goodbye, yet light with the joy of what they'd shared. love letters written in memory rather than ink. These moonlit meetings left their mark on history's heart, showing us that love has always found ways to bloom, even in the most restrictive soil, that human connection transcends social barriers. When hearts are true, in the quiet corners of Edo's nights, passion wrote its own rules, reminding us that the most beautiful love stories often unfold in whispers, under starlight, away from the world's watchful eyes. Chapter 6, Songs of the Heart. In the quiet corners of Edo's tea houses, where shadows dance with candlelight, lovers found their voices through poetry and song. These weren't grand declarations echoing through palace halls, but whispered verses that fluttered like cherry blossoms on evening breezes, each word carefully chosen, each melody softly hummed, carrying messages too tender for ordinary speech. Tonight, we listen to the heartbeat of hidden romance, expressed through the timeless language of verse and song. The Waka poem became Edo's secret messenger of love, 31 syllables arranged in 5 lines, each one a doorway to the soul. Lovers would slip these delicate verses between the pages of borrowed books, or tuck them beneath tea bowls during chance encounters. The beauty lay not just in the words themselves, but in their hidden meanings. A mention of morning dew might speak of tears shed in longing, while autumn leaves whispered of time's precious fleeting nature. Listen to this tender verse from an unknown lover. Cherry blossoms fall, yet in my heart they bloom still, waiting for spring's return. Such simple words, yet they carried the weight of entire seasons spent apart. The poet speaks of cyclical hope, of love that endures through winter's harsh embrace. In Edo's rigid social structure, where direct expressions of desire were forbidden, poetry became the bridge between yearning hearts, each metaphor a secret handshake between souls. The shamisen gentle strings often accompanied these whispered confessions. This 3-stringed instrument could speak what voices dared not. A merchant's daughter might pluck out a melody at twilight, knowing her beloved walked the path beyond her garden wall. The notes would drift through bamboo screens, carrying messages of longing across courtyards, each plucked string a heartbeat, each pause between notes a held breath. Music became the lover's private language, understood only by hearts that beat in unison. Street musicians unknowingly became Cupid's messengers, wandering through Edo's winding alleys with their flutes and small drums. They would often find coins left at specific corners. These weren't random acts of generosity, but coded requests. A copper piece meant to play the song of distant mountains. A silver one called for the melody of autumn rain. Each song carried private meaning between lovers, who would listen from separate windows, sharing the same notes, if not the same space. One particularly beautiful ballad tells of a weaver girl who sang to her loom each evening. Thread by thread, I weave my dreams. Silver moonlight guides my hands. Someday you will wear this cloth, woven with my love's own tears. Her beloved, a traveling poet, would pause beneath her window to catch these melodies. He later wrote that her songs transformed ordinary silk into garments that could warm not just the body, but the soul itself. Such was the power of love expressed through song, and the tea ceremony provided another stage for musical romance. The precise movements, the gentle clink of ceramic, the soft whoosh of whisked matcha, all created a symphony that lovers could enhance with subtle additions, a hummed note here, a tapped rhythm there. Guests might think these were simply personal quirks, but trained ears could hear the conversation. Are you well? Tap, tap, tap. I miss you dearly. Hum, hum. love songs hidden within the ancient ritual of tea. Festival days brought opportunities for bolder musical declarations. During Tanabata, the Star Festival, lovers would tie their poems to bamboo branches as evening breezes stirred the decorations. Hundreds of love songs would rustle together, creating a chorus of longing that rose toward the heavens. Young women would listen carefully, trying to recognize their beloved's handwriting among the fluttering papers, while young men would return again and again, hoping to hear their verses read aloud by festival goers. The Baiwa, with its distinctive pear-shaped body, often narrated epic love stories. Traveling storytellers would arrive in neighborhoods with these instruments, ready to spin tales of ancient romance. But clever lovers learned to request specific stories. Please tell us of the princess who waited by the bridge. Might actually be a message meaning meet me where we first spoke. The storyteller, unknowing, would weave their tale while secret messages passed between eager listeners gathered in the crowd. Night brought the most intimate musical exchanges from behind shoji screens. A kodo might whisper gentle melodies into the darkness. 13 silk strings capable of expressing the full spectrum of human longing. A sliding finger could bend notes into sighs, while rapid plucking mimicked racing hearts. Lovers separated by walls or social barriers would communicate through these evening concerts, each song a chapter in their continuing story, each note a kiss blown across impossible distances. One preserved collection reveals the poetry exchanged between a samurai and a merchant's daughter. Their love, forbidden by class distinction, bloomed entirely through verse. Your words are cherry blossoms in my winter heart. She wrote, your letters, warm sake for my lonely soul. He replied, over 3 seasons, they built an entire relationship from syllables and metaphors, never touching, rarely seeing each other, yet creating a bond stronger than many marriages. Poetry became their embrace, verse their stolen kisses. The shakuhachi flute, with its haunting bamboo voice, could express what words could not. Monks had traditionally used these instruments for meditation, but lovers borrowed their techniques for earthly purposes. A breathy, uncertain tone might convey nervousness before a secret meeting, while clear, confident notes spoke of joy and certainty. The flute's 5 holes could create countless variations, each breath transformed into emotion, each pause pregnant with meaning, love letters written in air, dissolving even as they touched the heart. During the cherry blossom season, Hanami parties provided perfect cover for musical romance. Amid the sake and celebration, a shamisen might casually play a tune known only to 2 hearts. Others would clap and sing along, unaware they were witnessing a private serenade. The beloved would catch the melody's meaning, a promise to meet when the moon rose, a declaration that their love bloomed as surely as the sakura above. Public gatherings became intimate concerts for audiences of one. The most treasured love songs were often the simplest. A fish seller's daughter wrote, morning mist rises from the river, your name forms on my lips. Her beloved, a temple gardener, replied, camellia petals fall, but my love for you remains evergreen. These weren't sophisticated court poetry, but honest words from working hearts. Their beauty lay in authenticity, in the way simple people found extraordinary ways to express ordinary feelings. Love songs that still echo across centuries. As evening markets closed and lanterns were lit, Edo's lovers would often gather courage from the songs they'd shared throughout the day. Whispered haikus gave them strength, remembered melodies provided comfort. In tea houses and behind garden walls, in temple courtyards and beside flowing streams, the city hummed with hidden serenades. Each neighborhood held its own secret symphony of hearts calling to hearts, love finding its voice through poetry and song, creating music that no government could silence. And so the songs of Edo's secret lovers continue to resonate. Their verses remind us that love has always found a way to sing, even in the quietest whispers, whether through the elegant curves of calligraphy or the gentle pluck of silk strings. The human heart refuses to be silenced. These tender ballads and heartfelt poems created a soundtrack for forbidden romance, proving that sometimes the most beautiful music comes not from grand stages, but from the intimate spaces between souls. In Chapter 7, Fabric Weaving Love, in the gentle folds of silk and cotton, the women of Edo, Japan whispered their deepest feelings. Each kimono became a canvas where love bloomed in delicate patterns and carefully chosen hues. Tonight, we unwrap these textile treasures, discovering how romance lived within every thread, every motif, every subtle gradation of color that danced across the fabric like poetry written in silk. The art of kimono courtship began long before the garment touched skin. In quiet workshops throughout Edo, master weavers understood that they were crafting more than clothing. They were creating silent messengers of the heart. Cherry blossoms scattered across midnight blue silk spoke of new love's tender uncertainty, while intertwining vines in gold thread declared devotion that would endure through seasons of joy and sorrow. Colors held their own secret language in this world of woven romance. Deep indigo whispered of loyalty and depth, like the ocean's endless embrace. Soft peach tones murmured promises of gentle affection, warm as morning sunlight on temple walls. When a woman chose crimson silk adorned with white cranes, she announced her readiness for marriage. These flying birds symbolized fidelity and grace, carrying her hopes toward a shared future. The placement of patterns told stories only lovers could read. Butterflies dancing near the hem suggested playful courtship, their delicate wings catching light with every step. But when these same butterflies appeared at the shoulder, closer to the heart, they spoke of deeper transformation. Love had evolved from flirtation into something profound, something that changed the very essence of who she was becoming. Seasonal motifs carried the rhythm of romance through the turning year. In spring, young women wore kimono adorned with plum blossoms, those brave flowers that bloomed while snow still lingered, and this choice declared their willingness to love despite uncertainty, to trust in beauty even when the world felt cold. The blossom's pale pink petals seemed to glow against dark silk, like hope illuminating doubt. Summer brought kimono painted with morning glories, their trumpet-shaped blooms opening with the dawn. These flowers lasted only one precious day, making them perfect symbols for fleeting moments of connection. A woman wearing morning glory patterns understood that love required presence, attention to each tender hour. She valued the ephemeral beauty that made every shared glance, every gentle touch, irreplaceably precious. Autumn kimono bloomed with maple leaves in shades of copper and gold, their fiery colors speaking of passion's intensity. These leaves represented the beautiful impermanence of all earthly love. Just as autumn's beauty grows more poignant, knowing winter approaches, so romantic love became more precious when touched by awareness of life's fragility. Each falling leaf was both ending and beginning, sorrow and celebration intertwined. Winter kimono embraced the stark beauty of snow-covered pine branches, their evergreen needles promising continuity through cold seasons. These patterns declared love that would endure hardship, affection that found warmth even in life's most challenging moments. The contrast between white snow and deep green needles created drama on silk, reminding viewers that true intimacy often grows strongest when tested by adversity. The obi, that wide sash embracing the kimono's waist, carried its own romantic significance. Its placement created the garment's silhouette, transforming fabric into form. Elaborate bows tied at the back required assistance, creating moments of intimate vulnerability. A lover's hands arranging those silken folds became an act of devotion, fingers learning the landscape of beloved shoulders while adjusting each perfect fold with tender concentration. Geometric patterns woven into kimono fabric spoke in mathematical languages of harmony. Interlocking circles represented eternal cycles of devotion, endless loops with no beginning or end. Diamond shapes, called shippo, suggested infinite expansion of prosperity and happiness. These precise patterns required extraordinary skill from weavers, their perfect repetition becoming a meditation on love's reliability, its comforting predictability within life's chaos. The weight and drape of different fabrics created their own romantic vocabularies. Heavy silk crepe moved with dignity and restraint, appropriate for mature love that had weathered many seasons. Lighter silks danced with youthful energy, their fluid movement suggesting spontaneity and joy. When fabric caught candlelight during evening encounters, it transformed the wearer into something luminous, ethereal, worthy of poetry and patient devotion. Hidden details within kimono construction revealed love's most intimate dimensions. Tiny hand stitched motifs appeared, where only the closest observer might notice. A small crane embroidered near the heart, invisible unless someone drew very near. These secret decorations became gifts for future discovery, promises that deeper intimacy would reveal ever more beautiful surprises woven into the beloved's very being. The process of dressing in such elaborate garments required time, patience, and often assistance, layers built upon layers, each with its own purpose and beauty. The innermost garments, invisible to the world, were chosen with equal care. This attention to unseen details reflected love's deeper truth. True affection concerned itself with the whole person, not just the visible surface. Master dyers created colors that seemed to hold light within their depths. Techniques passed down through generations produced hues that shifted with movement and illumination. A kimono that appeared deep purple in candlelight might reveal hidden blues in moonlight. This chromatic magic mirrored love itself, relationships that revealed new dimensions as circumstances changed, showing different aspects of beauty under different conditions. The sound of silk rustling as kimono moved created its own romantic music. This gentle whisper announced approach and departure, creating aural halos around the wearer. Lovers learned to recognize the particular rhythm of beloved footsteps, accompanied by specific fabric sounds. In darkness, they could identify their cherished one by the silk's distinctive voice, creating intimacy through multiple senses. As we wrap our exploration of these woven love stories, we understand that kimono represented more than fashion. They embodied an entire philosophy of romantic expression through beauty, craftsmanship, and subtle communication. Each garment became a poem written in silk, a love letter that could be worn and admired. Tomorrow we continue our gentle journey through Edo's tender traditions. Rest well. Chapter 8, Seiken Love. In the gentle glow of paper lanterns, two hearts prepare for an ancient ritual of connection. The delicate clink of ceramic cups echoes through centuries of tradition. Sake, more than mere drink, becomes a bridge between souls, its warm embrace flowing through bodies and spirits alike. Here, in this sacred space of sharing, love finds its voice not in words, but in the tender act of pouring for another. The ritual begins with reverence, hands moving in practiced grace as the takuri is lifted, the gentle cascade of sake catching moonlight as it fills the ochoko, each movement deliberate, each gesture steeped in meaning. To pour for your beloved is to offer your very essence. The warmth of the rice wine mingles with the warmth of affection, creating something far more intoxicating than alcohol alone could ever achieve. In Edo's hidden chambers, lovers gathered around low lacquered tables, the soft rustle of silk kimono accompanying each careful movement. Sake cups passed between trembling fingers, each exchange a silent promise, the drink itself secondary to the intimacy of the moment. Here, vulnerability was found not in words of devotion, but in the trust required to accept what another had poured, their hearts opening with each shared sip. The temperature of sake held deep significance in these tender moments, warm sake for cold winter nights when bodies sought comfort, chilled for summer evenings when passion ran hot, each serving chosen with the care of a love letter. The vessel itself became part of the conversation, delicate porcelain for gentle affection, rustic clay for earthier desires, every detail carefully orchestrated to speak what hearts dared not say aloud. The art of sake appreciation became a language of love, lovers learning to read each other's preferences, like poetry, one preferring the smooth sweetness of junmai, another drawn to the bold complexity of aged varieties. Sharing these discoveries was sharing pieces of one's soul. The act of remembering a beloved's favorite seika spoke of devotion deeper than memory. It whispered of a love that paid attention to every nuance. In the shadows of cherry blossoms, sake rituals took on ethereal beauty, petals floating in cups like pink promises of spring. Lovers would time their gatherings with the blooming seasons, each flower a witness to their growing affection. The fleeting nature of blossoms mirrored the precious moments shared over sake, teaching hearts to savor each encounter, knowing that, like the cherry blossoms, love's sweetest moments were often the most ephemeral. The sharing of sake created bonds beyond the physical realm as the rice wine warmed their bodies. Spirits seemed to intertwine. Inhibitions melted away like snow in spring sunshine, allowing authentic connection to flourish. Conversation flowed as smoothly as the sake itself. Secrets shared between sips became sacred trusts, laughter echoing off paper walls. In these moments, two souls found themselves speaking the same language of the heart. Master craftsmen understood that sake was more than fermented rice. They brewed elixirs of connection, each batch carrying the maker's intention for bringing hearts together. Lovers would seek out specific breweries, knowing that certain sakes held the power to deepen their bond. The ritual of selecting sake together became a pilgrimage of sorts, a quest for the perfect accompaniment to their unique love story, each bottle chosen with reverent care. The act of warming sake together held special intimacy, tending the small flame beneath the takuri, waiting patiently as the ceramic grew warm to the touch. This quiet time of preparation became meditation, hands occasionally brushing as they adjusted the heat, gentle murmurs of anticipation filling the space, the shared responsibility of creating the perfect temperature reflected their commitment to nurturing the warmth between them, even in the smallest gestures. Evening sake ceremonies transformed ordinary rooms into sacred spaces, tatami mats arranged with mathematical precision, soft lighting casting dancing shadows on painted screens, the careful placement of cups and serving vessels, each element contributing to an atmosphere of reverence. Here, love wasn't proclaimed loudly, but whispered through ritual, the ceremony itself becoming a form of prayer, an offering to the gods of devotion, asking for blessing upon their tender bond. The etiquette of Seika sharing revealed layers of courtship, never filling one's own cup, always serving the other first, watching carefully to ensure no cup remained empty. These gestures spoke of selflessness and attention, the rhythm of pouring and receiving, creating a dance of mutual care. In this exchange, lovers learned the delicate balance of giving and accepting, each action reflecting the deeper dynamics of their relationship, building trust through consistent tenderness. Seasonal sake selections told the story of enduring love. Spring brought fresh, bright varieties to celebrate new beginnings. Summer called for crisp, clean flavors to refresh heated passion. Autumn's rich, full bodied sake matched the deepening of their bond. Winter's warming varieties provided comfort through cold months. This yearly cycle of shared appreciation became a calendar of their relationship, marking time, not in days, but in moments of connection, each season strengthening their foundation. The final drops of sake in the tokuri carried special significance, carefully divided between lovers. As the evening drew to its close, these last precious sips savored slowly, knowing they marked the end of another perfect moment, yet already anticipating the next gathering, the empty vessel sitting between them, silent witness to hours of connection, its ceramic surface still warm from their shared attention, promising future evenings of similar intimacy and joy. Stories passed down through generations spoke of Sake's power to bind souls, couples who shared their first cup under full moons, finding their love blessed by celestial forces. Wedding ceremonies where Sake sealed not just legal bonds, but spiritual ones. Families gathering to witness the sacred pouring, each drop representing commitment, respect, and hope for the future. These traditions created connections deeper than any contract, weaving sake into the very fabric of lasting love. As the ceramic cups cooled and the evening's warmth settled into memory, lovers would sit in comfortable silence, the sake's gentle effects creating a soft haze of contentment. Fingers intertwined, hearts synchronized. No need for words when souls had spoken so clearly through ritual, the empty vessels before them, testament to time well spent, connection deepened through ancient practice. These quiet moments after the ceremony often proved the most precious, when love revealed itself in simplest forms. The legacy of sake and love continues to whisper through time, reminding us that connection requires more than mere proximity. It asks for intention, ritual, reverence, the careful attention to another's pleasure, the patience to create sacred space together. In our modern world of hurried affection, perhaps we might learn from these ancient lovers who understood that love, like sake, improves with proper care, and that the most profound intimacy flows from deliberate, mindful sharing. Chapter 9: Bonds Beyond Words. In the quiet corners of Edo folklore, love stories emerged that defied every rule society had written. These weren't ordinary romances, but legendary bonds that transcended class, duty, and expectation. Here, beneath moonlit cherry blossoms and behind painted screens, hearts found ways to speak when words were forbidden. Tonight, we journey into tales where love became rebellion, where devotion grew stronger than tradition, where souls recognized each other across impossible divides. The first whispers speak of Okiku and Saburo, she a merchant's daughter, he a masterless samurai, wandering Edo's winding streets. Their worlds should never have touched, yet fate drew them together at a tea ceremony where stolen glances became silent promises, in a society where marriage crossed only approved boundaries. Their love bloomed like forbidden cherry blossoms, beautiful, defiant, and destined to face the storms of convention. Yet their hearts knew no laws but their own. They met in secret beneath the stone lanterns of Sensoji Temple, where incense smoke carried their whispered prayers skyward. Okiku would leave origami cranes in the temple gardens, each fold containing a poem only Sabaru could decipher. He responded with pressed flowers tucked behind Buddha statues, creating a silent dialogue of devotion. These lovers invented their own language of the heart, communicating through symbols that spoke louder than any spoken vow ever could. But folklore remembers their tragedy too. When Okiku's family discovered their midnight meetings, they arranged her marriage to a wealthy silk trader on her wedding eve. She and Saburo met one final time by the Sumida River. They sealed their eternal bond by sharing cups of sake under stars that seemed to weep silver tears, promising to find each other again, whether in this life or the next. Their love became legend, whispered by generations who believe true bonds transcend even death. Another tale echoes through Edo's memory, the story of Taro, a humble carpenter, and Lady Miyuki, daughter of a powerful daimyo. Their paths crossed when he was commissioned to repair her family's ancestral shrine. She watched him work from behind latticed windows, captivated by the reverence in his hands as he restored sacred wood. He glimpsed her shadow and fell under a spell no amount of social distance could break. Love bloomed where duty demanded only service. Their romance unfolded through the language of craftsmanship. Taro carved secret messages into decorative temple beams, knowing only Miyuki would understand their meaning. She responded by leaving silk ribbons tied in specific knots around shrine offerings. Each color combination told stories their lips could never speak aloud: blue for longing, white for hope, red for the fire burning in her heart. Their love became art, hidden in plain sight, beautiful and eternal as the wood itself. When discovery threatened their secret world, they chose sacrifice over surrender. Taro completed one final masterpiece, a hidden compartment within the shrine's main pillar, containing letters they had never dared exchange. Lady Miyuki added her own treasure, a jade comb worn smooth by her grandmother's touch, symbolizing love passed through generations. Together, they sealed these tokens away, creating a time capsule of forbidden devotion that would outlive them both. The folklore whispers of their peaceful parting, knowing their love could never be acknowledged in life. They found contentment in having touched each other's souls. Taro left Edo to become a wandering monk, carrying Miyuki's memory like a sacred prayer. She married as duty required, but kept their secret shrine, visiting it each season to leave fresh flowers. Their love became a quiet sanctuary, proof that some bonds exist beyond society's approval, beyond time itself. But perhaps the most enchanting legend tells of two young actors from rival kabuki troupes, Ichiro and Kenjiro, whose stage battles became real attraction off stage. In a world where their profession already placed them outside conventional society, they found freedom to love without pretense. Their performances grew more passionate as their private bond deepened. Audiences sensed something magical between them, never guessing it was love transcending all boundaries of expectation and tradition. Their love story became performance art itself. They created elaborate theatrical codes to express devotion, specific fan movements during dance sequences, particular ways of arranging their stage costumes, meaningful pauses in dialogue that spoke volumes to each other. The theater became their sanctuary, where love could live openly, disguised as craft. Every night, hundreds witnessed their romance without ever knowing they were seeing something beyond acting, pure, authentic connection, flowering under stage lights. When age ended their performing careers, they opened a small tea house near the Sumida River. There they served travelers and locals with the grace they once brought to the stage. Regular customers noticed how they moved together, like dancers, even while pouring tea. Their establishment became known for its atmosphere of gentle harmony. Though few understood its source, love had found its perfect expression in simple daily rituals shared by two souls who understood each other completely. These folklore tales share common threads: love that found expression through creativity, devotion that transformed ordinary objects into sacred symbols, bonds that grew stronger when tested by society's disapproval. In Edo's rigid world, forbidden love became more precious for its rarity. Like flowers blooming in winter, these romances possessed extraordinary beauty precisely because they defied natural law. They prove that authentic connection recognizes no boundaries save those of the heart itself. The legends speak of love's ability to create new languages. When words failed, these lovers invented symbol systems more eloquent than poetry, origami patterns that conveyed complex emotions, garden arrangements that told entire stories, musical phrases that carried messages only beloved ears could decode. They transformed everyday Edo life into a canvas for romance, proving that love finds expression through whatever materials the world provides, no matter how limiting those constraints appear. What makes these stories endure is their quiet dignity. None of these legendary lovers demanded society change for them. Instead, they changed themselves, finding ways to honor both their hearts and their world's expectations. Their love became acts of grace rather than rebellion. They chose understanding over anger, creativity over destruction, acceptance over bitterness. In doing so, they became examples of how authentic love elevates rather than diminishes all it touches. Modern Japan still remembers these folklore lovers in quiet ways. Temples where Okiku left her cranes now display origami created by contemporary visitors seeking love. The shrine Taro and Miyuki treasured remains, a pilgrimage site for couples facing opposition. The riverside where the actors open their tea house hosts an annual festival celebrating unconventional love. These legends live on because they speak to something timeless: the human heart's capacity to transcend any barrier. As we close this chapter on bonds beyond words, we carry forward their wisdom that love's greatest power lies not in changing the world, but in transforming how we move through it. These Edo lovers teach us that authentic connection creates its own sacred space, its own secret language, its own perfect timing. Their folklore reminds us that some bonds exist beyond society's understanding, beyond time's passage, eternal, patient, and infinitely precious, bonds that truly transcend words themselves. Chapter 10: Hidden Love in Art. In the floating world of Edo, Japan, love found its most exquisite expression through the delicate strokes of master artists. Ukiyo-e woodblock prints captured stolen glances and secret meetings with breathtaking beauty. Each line, each color, each careful detail whispered stories that words alone could never tell. These weren't simply decorative pieces, they were windows into the tender hearts of lovers who dared to dream in an age of rigid convention. The art studios of old Edo hummed with quiet passion. Master painters would spend countless hours perfecting a single expression of longing, the curve of a lover's neck, the flutter of silk kimono sleeves, the way moonlight touched a waiting face. Every brushstroke carried meaning. Artists understood that in a world where open affection was forbidden, their canvases became the only place where hearts could speak freely, where love could bloom without fear or shame. Traditional scrolls unfurled like love letters painted in silk, courtesans and samurai, merchants and geishas, all found themselves immortalized in moments of tender vulnerability. An artist's brush could capture what society demanded, remain hidden, the gentle touch of fingertips against silk, eyes that spoke volumes in their depths, lips parted in whispered promises. These paintings preserved the essence of forbidden romance for generations to witness and understand. Ukiyo-e masters like Utamaro and Harunobu transformed love into visual poetry. Their woodblock prints celebrated the beauty of connection in all its forms. Soft pastels and flowing lines created intimate scenes that made viewers feel like welcomed observers. Lovers sharing tea beneath cherry blossoms, secret meetings by moonlit ponds. Each print told a complete story of yearning and fulfillment, making art the ultimate confidant for hearts that couldn't speak aloud. The creation of these masterpieces was itself an act of devotion. Artists would study their subjects for months, learning the way candlelight played across a lover's features, memorizing the subtle expressions that crossed faces during private moments. They painted not just what they saw, but what they felt, transforming raw emotion into timeless beauty that could speak to anyone who had ever loved, anyone who had ever longed. Hidden within ornate frames and delicate paper were stories of rebellion against social expectations, young lovers who defied family arrangements, forbidden relationships that bloomed despite every obstacle. Artists became the keepers of these tales, preserving them in pigment and gold leaf. Their studios served as sanctuaries where love could exist without judgment, where passion was celebrated rather than condemned, where every emotion found its perfect visual expression. The language of Edo art, spoke in symbols only lovers could understand. A single red camellia dropped at someone's feet meant undying devotion. Intertwined pine branches promised eternal commitment. Autumn maple leaves, scattered around figures, suggested the bittersweet nature of fleeting romance. Artists wove these meanings throughout their work, creating pieces that functioned as both beautiful decoration and secret love letters, messages that could hide in plain sight. Behind closed doors, wealthy patrons would commission private portraits of their beloved. These intimate pieces never saw public display. They existed solely for the pleasure of remembering a touch, a smile, a moment of perfect understanding. Artists painted these works with extra tenderness, knowing they were creating treasures meant only for lovers' eyes, preserving memories too precious for the outside world to witness or judge. The artistic process itself mirrored the patience required for lasting love. Layer upon layer of pigment built depth and richness, just as relationships deepened through shared experiences and understanding. Artists would return to the same piece again and again, adding subtle details, refining expressions, until every element sang in perfect harmony, teaching us that both art and love require time, dedication, and the willingness to begin again. Female artists like Katsushika Oi brought unique perspectives to depictions of love. Their brushes captured the inner emotional landscape of romance with unprecedented sensitivity. They painted longing from the inside out, showing how love felt rather than simply how it looked. Their work revealed the tender vulnerability that exists between two people who truly see each other, who find safety in another's understanding gaze. Gardens and natural settings became the perfect backdrop for artistic romance, cherry blossoms falling like snow around embracing figures, couples reflected in still pond waters, lovers walking hand in hand through autumn forests ablaze with color. Nature itself seemed to approve of these connections, providing beauty that matched the intensity of human emotion, creating scenes so lovely they felt like glimpses into paradise. The texture and feel of these artworks added another layer of sensory pleasure. Silk scrolls, smooth beneath fingertips, raised brushstrokes that could be traced like braille, delicate paper that rustled with the softest touch. Owners of these pieces experienced art through multiple senses, creating deeper connections between viewer and subject, making the depicted lovers feel real, present, eternally alive in their moments of joy. Evening light filtering through paper screens created the perfect atmosphere for viewing love stories in art. Shadows danced across painted faces, bringing them to life in flickering candlelight. These intimate viewing sessions became rituals of remembrance and hope, ways to connect with the universal experience of longing, moments when art transcended decoration to become meditation, prayer, a celebration of everything beautiful in human connection. Master calligraphers would add poetry to complement painted scenes, flowing characters that seemed to dance alongside the figures they described, words and images working together to create complete emotional experiences. Verses about meeting beneath the full moon, poems celebrating the sound of beloved laughter, text that transformed visual art into multimedia love letters, speaking to both heart and mind simultaneously. The preservation of these artistic treasures required the same care and devotion depicted within them. Collectors wrapped each piece in silk, stored them in cedar boxes, scented with lavender, handled them with reverence, usually reserved for sacred objects, understanding that they held more than pigment and paper. They contained the hopes and dreams of countless souls who dared to love against all odds. Today, museums around the world display these masterpieces as windows into a world where art and romance dance together in perfect harmony. Visitors stand mesmerized by the timeless beauty of painted love, recognizing something eternal in those ancient expressions of yearning, proof that throughout history, across all cultures, the human heart has always found ways to celebrate its deepest truths through beauty, through art, through love itself. Chapter 11, Bittersweet Goodbye. In the quiet corners of Edo society, where love bloomed in shadow and silence, parting was an art form wrapped in exquisite pain. Lovers knew from their first stolen glance that every meeting carried the weight of eventual separation. The cherry blossoms reminded them beauty lives briefly, love even more so. Yet in this knowledge, they found a tenderness that made each moment shimmer with precious intensity. The letters came first, delicate paper folded with trembling hands, each crease a prayer that words might bridge the growing distance. She would write by candlelight, her brush dancing across rice paper. My heart follows the moon to your window. He would reply with poems hidden in morning glory petals. But as autumn deepened, the exchanges grew desperate, love letters becoming last testaments to what could never be spoken aloud in daylight. In traditional Japanese culture, the act of writing farewell was considered sacred. Lovers would spend hours perfecting each character, knowing these might be the final words to grace their beloved's eyes. The ink itself became tears, flowing across paper like grief across the soul. Some letters were never sent, found years later, pressed between kimono layers, eternal whispers of hearts that dared to love against all wisdom. The fan language grew more urgent now, subtle signals replaced by desperate gestures. A fan held close to the heart meant, "I cannot bear this separation." Closed and pressed against the lips, whispered, "My words are sealed with sorrow." In crowded markets and temple grounds, these silent conversations played out, two souls reaching across impossible distance, their hands never touching, yet their hearts beating in perfect, painful synchrony. The courtesan district fell quiet as news spread, families had decided, arrangements made, love bowed to duty, as it always must. In the pleasure quarters, where forbidden romance often found its voice, even the most experienced women wept. They had seen this dance before, the careful choreography of hearts breaking according to social law. Yet each goodbye felt like the first, raw and irreversible. She began removing traces of their secret world. The hidden compartment behind the wooden screen, emptied of his letters, incense he had given her, now cold and unused, a small jade ornament that had once caught moonlight as they whispered beneath stars. Each object held a memory, each memory a small death. The ritual of forgetting required courage. She wasn't sure she possessed, yet tradition demanded this sacrifice. In Edo-period Japan, the concept of mono no aware, the pathos of things, found perfect expression in parting lovers. This bittersweet awareness that all beauty fades gave their goodbye a transcendent quality. They understood their love was like morning dew, precious, precisely because it would vanish. This philosophy didn't ease the pain, but it gave their suffering meaning, transformed personal tragedy into something approaching art. The final meeting came with autumn's last warm evening. They sat beneath the maple tree, where they'd first exchanged poems. Red leaves fell like tears from heaven. He spoke of duty, family expectations, the impossibility of their dream. She listened, memorizing the cadence of his voice, the way starlight caught in his eyes. Tomorrow he would be promised to another. Tonight belonged to goodbye, and goodbye, they discovered, was its own form of forever. Traditional Japanese poetry gave voice to the unspeakable. Even in spring, cherry blossoms scatter. How much more quickly do human hearts part? These verses, whispered between lovers, became mantras for survival. The formal structure of haiku contained wild grief. 17 syllables, holding an ocean of loss. In learning to speak their pain beautifully, they found a way to bear what seemed unbearable. Poetry became their bridge between love and letting go. The morning after brought a world transformed. Colors seemed muted, as if viewed through rice paper, the familiar sounds of the district. Merchants calling, children laughing, temple bells, all felt distant. Underwater, she moved through her daily rituals, mechanically, arranging flowers, preparing tea, greeting visitors, but part of her remained frozen in that final moment when his hand had almost touched hers in farewell. In the months that followed, she would catch glimpses, a silhouette in the market that quickened her pulse, a laugh that sounded like his echo, the cruel kindness of memory playing tricks, transforming strangers into ghosts of what was lost. Edo's winding streets, once pathways to secret joy, now felt like a maze, designed to trap her between hope and despair. Every corner held the possibility of seeing him, and the certainty of not. The seasons turned, as they always do, indifferent to human heartbreak. Spring brought new cherry blossoms, summer its humid promises. Yet for those who had loved in secret, time moved differently, measured not in months but in moments of forgetting, then remembering, then forgetting again, the heart learning slowly, painfully, to beat around the shape of absence, to find rhythm in what remained, when everything essential had been taken away. Other lovers in the district watched and learned, seeing in her transformation their own possible future. Love in Edo, Japan was always borrowed time, stolen moments between duty and desire, yet witnessing the grace with which she bore her loss, how she continued to arrange flowers with steady hands, to welcome guests with genuine warmth. They understood that love could survive its own ending, that hearts could break and still keep beating. Years later, she would tell young women, love completely, even knowing it will end, especially knowing it will end. The anticipation of loss makes every glance precious, every shared breath a gift beyond measure. Her wisdom carried the weight of lived experience, the authority that comes only from having loved truly and lost gracefully. In teaching others to embrace impermanence, she found her own form of forever. Through shared understanding, love transcended its physical limits. The secret love traditions of Edo-period Japan teach us that goodbye need not mean forgotten, that hearts can hold space for what was, while remaining open to what might be, in the gentle art of letting go. Lovers discovered a deeper intimacy, one that required no touch, no promise, no shared future, only the courage to have loved completely in the time they were given. This, perhaps, was their greatest tradition. As moonlight settles over the quiet district tonight, we honor those who loved in shadow and parted in grace. Their bittersweet goodbyes echo still, reminding us that love's true measure isn't in its duration, but in its depth, in the courage to feel completely, to risk everything for moments of connection. Their legacy lives in every heart, brave enough to love, knowing that all beauty, like all love, is precious precisely because it fades. Chapter 12. Love Amidst Cherry Blossoms. In the gentle warmth of spring, Edo's people gathered beneath clouds of pink and white petals. Hanami, they called it, the art of flower viewing that became so much more than simple appreciation. Here, beneath the delicate sakura branches, love found its most tender expression. Hearts opened like the blossoms themselves, fragile and beautiful, fleeting moments that would bloom brilliantly, then drift away on the evening breeze, leaving only sweet memories. Imagine walking through Ueno's sacred groves in early April, the air thick with the perfume of countless cherry trees. Families spread colorful mats beneath the branches, while young lovers steal glances across the crowds. Every petal that falls seems to carry a whispered promise, a gentle reminder that beauty, like love itself, is most precious because it cannot last forever. The Japanese understood this truth deeply, finding in impermanence not sadness, but profound beauty. Under these same blossoms, merchants and samurai alike forgot their stations. Artisans set aside their tools. Geishas paused their performances, all drawn by the same magnetic pull of spring's gentle arrival. Lovers would meet as if by chance, their eyes speaking languages that words could never capture. A shared cup of sake beneath falling petals became a sacred ritual, each sip a promise, each glance a prayer to the gods of fleeting moments. The most beautiful encounters happened in the evening twilight, when lanterns began to glow among the branches like fallen stars. Couples would wander the moonlit paths, their footsteps soft on carpets of fallen petals. Here, a brush of fingertips. There, a whispered poem, love letters folded into origami cranes and tucked beneath the bark of ancient trees, each one a small offering to the ephemeral gods of romance, destined to be discovered by spring rain. Cherry blossom season lasted just 2 precious weeks, and lovers learned to treasure each stolen moment. A gentle touch of hands while reaching for the same low branch, shared laughter as petals caught in dark hair like snow, the way moonlight painted faces silver beneath the blooms. These memories would sustain hearts through long months of separation until spring returned with its promise of renewal, of love blooming fresh and tender once again. Young women would dress in their finest kimono, choosing colors that echoed the blossoms themselves, soft pinks and pure whites, delicate patterns that seemed to dance in the gentle breeze. They moved through the groves like living flowers, their elaborate hairstyles adorned with real sakura sprigs, each step carefully placed, each gesture a poem written in silk and grace, drawing admirers like bees to honey. Men would compose haiku under the blossoms, 17 syllables, capturing hearts that words alone could never hold. Sakura falling, your smile more beautiful than spring itself. These verses became gifts more precious than gold, written on handmade paper, tied with silk ribbons, left secretly where beloved eyes might find them. Each poem a small doorway into a poet's soul, an invitation to share in wonder and longing. Families would feast beneath the trees, but young hearts sought quieter spaces, hidden alcoves where ancient branches formed natural pavilions. Here, conversations flowed like gentle streams about dreams and hopes, about the beauty of impermanence. Lovers discovered that cherry blossoms taught the most important lesson of all, that knowing something must end makes every moment infinitely more precious, more worth cherishing, more deeply felt. The sound of shamisen strings drifted through the groves, musicians playing melodies that seemed to echo the very heartbeat of spring. Couples would pause in their wanderings to listen, swaying gently to rhythms older than memory. Sometimes a brave soul would begin to dance, drawing others into spontaneous celebrations of life and love, the music weaving itself into the evening air like invisible threads binding hearts together. Artisans would sell small treasures beneath the blossoms, delicate hairpins shaped like sakura flowers, tiny bells that chimed with each step. Lovers purchased these tokens not for their beauty, but for their promise that long after the petals had fallen, after spring had given way to summer's heat, these small reminders would whisper of perfect moments, of love discovered beneath nature's most gentle blessing, of hearts opened like flowers to the light. Tea masters would set up their ceremonies in clearings among the trees, the ritual of preparation becoming meditation. Lovers would kneel together on woven mats, sharing bitter green tea from the same cup, the ceremony slowing time itself, each gesture deliberate and meaningful. In the space between sips, between breaths, between heartbeats, they found something sacred, something that made the fleeting seasons stretch into eternity, if only for a moment. Children would run laughing through the groves, chasing fallen petals like butterflies, their joy infectious, reminding older lovers of their own capacity for wonder. Couples would watch these small celebrations with tender smiles, remembering their own childhood hanami, dreaming perhaps of future springs, of tiny hands they might one day guide to catch falling blossoms, of love stories yet to be written beneath the same eternal trees. As night deepened, the crowds would thin, leaving only the most devoted flower watchers, lovers who understood that moonlight transformed the blossoms into something magical. Silver petals fell like gentle rain, each one a blessing, a small prayer answered. Couples would make promises beneath these midnight blooms, vows whispered to the night wind, commitments as beautiful and fragile as the flowers themselves, meant to be honored even after the petals had all fallen. The last week of blooming brought both joy and melancholy. Petals began their final dance to earth, carpeting the paths in pink and white. Lovers would lie on these natural beds, looking up through the branches at stars beyond, understanding deeply that this too would pass, that next year's blossoms would be different, that love, like the sakura, is most beautiful when we fully accept its precious impermanence, its exquisite vulnerability. Poets spoke of mono no aware, the bittersweet awareness of impermanence, but lovers beneath the cherry trees discovered something more. They found that accepting life's fleeting nature didn't diminish joy, it amplified it, made every touch more tender, every glance more meaningful, every shared breath more precious. The blossoms taught them that true beauty lies not in permanence, but in the courage to love fully, knowing that all things must pass. When the last petal finally fell, when the trees stood green and full, but no longer blooming, lovers would return to the same spots, remembering their hearts carrying the echo of perfect moments, until next spring called them back to witness again the miracle of love and cherry blossoms, both fragile, both eternal, both reminding us that the most beautiful things in life are those we cannot hold forever, but only cherish while they bloom. Chapter 13. Wistful yearning. In the shadows of Edo's bustling streets lived countless hearts bearing silent burdens, loves that could never be spoken, dreams that society would never allow. Tonight we enter these tender spaces where hope and heartbreak intertwined like morning glory vines, where a single glance across a crowded marketplace could sustain a soul for months, yet never bloom into the embrace both hearts desperately craved. These are the stories of love's most beautiful tragedy. Beneath the cherry blossoms of spring, Mitsuko would sit each dawn, embroidering silk with trembling fingers, her heart following the rhythm of distant temple bells. She knew he passed this way to morning prayers, the young merchant whose smile once caught hers for just a heartbeat. Now she threaded golden threads like captured sunlight, each stitch a prayer that somehow the universe might bend its ancient rules and allow two souls from different worlds to find their way to each other. The rigid caste system of Edo Japan created invisible walls between hearts. A merchant's daughter could never marry a samurai. An artisan's son remained forever beyond a noble lady's reach. Yet love paid no attention to society's careful boundaries. It bloomed wild and fierce in the most forbidden gardens, leaving those who felt its pull to navigate treacherous waters, where one misstep could mean exile, disgrace, or worse, the complete severing of family bonds that held one's entire world together. In tea houses along the Sumida River, poets gathered to share verses of longing. Their words painted pictures of love that could only exist in imagination, like snow falling upward toward the moon. They would whisper, describing the impossibility of their desires. These men and women became masters of metaphor, speaking in codes that only other yearning hearts could understand, their poetry becoming a secret language, a way to touch what could never be held, to voice what must forever remain unspoken. Young Kenji worked the rice fields at dawn, his calloused hands moving with practiced grace through the flooded paddies. Yet his thoughts wandered always to the magistrate's garden, where Yuki tended morning glory flowers. He had glimpsed her only twice, but her gentle laughter echoed in his dreams. He knew the distance between their worlds, measured not in steps, but in centuries of tradition. Still, he saved his finest grain, hoping someday to offer it as a humble gift from one heart to another. The art of hidden messages flourished in Edo's atmosphere of forbidden love. Lovers developed intricate signals, a particular fold in a letter, the way flowers were arranged in a shop window, even the pattern of stones placed along a garden path. Each carried meaning deeper than words. These silent conversations stretched across months, sometimes years. Two people building an entire relationship through glances and gestures, never knowing if their devotion was truly understood, yet unable to stop their hearts from hoping. Festival nights brought the cruelest joy when social boundaries relaxed just enough for stolen moments. Masked dancers could brush fingertips, exchanging warmth that had to last until the next celebration. Lantern light created shadows where quick words could be whispered, promises made that daylight would never allow. These brief encounters became treasured memories, polished smooth by constant reflection, each detail preserved like pressed flowers, beautiful, fragile, and forever removed from the living world, where love might actually grow. Lady Akemi spent her evenings at the window, watching the moon's slow journey across autumn skies. Her marriage had been arranged since childhood to a man who saw her as property rather than person, yet her heart had already chosen a traveling musician whose songs made her soul sing. She traced his melodies on frosted glass, creating temporary art that vanished with morning light, like the love she could never claim. Beautiful for a moment, then gone without trace, leaving only the ache of what might have been. In monasteries and temples, some sought refuge from impossible love, trading earthly desires for spiritual devotion. Yet even within sacred walls, hearts continued their restless yearning. Young monks would find themselves composing poetry about eyes they would never see again. Nuns would weave prayers that were actually love letters to men who had no idea of their existence. The divine became a mirror, reflecting back the very human longings they had tried so desperately to leave behind, making heaven itself a place of beautiful torment. The changing seasons became markers of waiting. Spring's cherry blossoms bloomed and fell, reminding lovers of time's passage without progress. Summer's heat intensified the burning in hearts that could find no relief. Autumn brought the melancholy of another year passing, another cycle completed without fulfillment. Winter's snow covered the world in pristine white, like hope that refused to die, despite all evidence that dreams would remain forever buried. Yet still they waited, counting seasons like prayer beads, finding beauty even in endless longing. Some lovers found ways to serve each other from afar. A wealthy merchant's daughter would anonymously fund a struggling artist's supplies, knowing he would never discover her identity. A samurai would ensure safe passage for his beloved's family, protecting them from dangers they would never know existed. These acts of hidden devotion became their only form of touch, love expressed through kindness rather than embrace, creating invisible threads of connection that society could never see and therefore could never sever. Bonds stronger for being secret. Old age brought its own particular sorrow to the hearts that had loved in silence. Watching mirrors reveal the passage of decades, knowing the object of their devotion had grown old as well. Yet somehow this made their love feel more precious. Time had tested it, refined it, stripped away everything temporary until only the pure essence remained. A feeling so deep it had become part of their very being, no longer hoping for union, but grateful simply to have known such powerful emotion, to have touched something eternal. Children and grandchildren would sometimes notice the faraway look in elderly eyes, the way certain songs made their elders pause, as if hearing voices from long ago. These young ones could not imagine that their dignified ancestors had once burned with passion, had written secret poems, had lain awake counting stars while thinking of someone who remained forever out of reach. The stories lived on, only in the quiet spaces between heartbeats, in the gentle sadness that touched even the happiest moments. Reminders of roads not taken. Death brought the final chapters to these stories of yearning, yet even in their last moments, these devoted hearts held tight to their treasured memories. Perhaps in crossing over, they would finally be free to love without restrictions, to find the reunion that earthly life had denied. Their families buried them with small tokens, a pressed flower, a folded letter never sent, objects that seemed meaningless to others but carried entire worlds of feeling. These simple items became bridges between what was and what might have been. The poetry they left behind tells us their stories, verses that speak of mountains between hearts, of bridges made of moonlight, of love that blooms in the garden of impossible dreams. These words survive when the lovers themselves have long turned to dust, their yearning transformed into art that still moves us centuries later, proving that some feelings transcend their circumstances, becoming universal truths about the human heart, about love's ability to create beauty even when it cannot create union, especially when it cannot create union. Tonight, as we close this chapter of wistful yearning, let us honor these brave hearts who loved despite knowing their love could never be fulfilled, who found ways to pour their devotion into poetry, into art, into small acts of secret kindness. They remind us that love's true power lies not in possession, but in the very ability to feel such depth of emotion, to be moved so completely by another's soul, that the feeling itself becomes a kind of home, beautiful, eternal, and ultimately enough. Chapter 14, Survival of Love Tales. Time moves like a river, carrying away empires and dynasties, yet somehow, in the quiet corners of human hearts, love finds a way to endure. The secret romantic traditions of Edo Japan faced countless storms, wars, political upheavals, changing social orders, but like seeds buried deep in winter soil, these tender customs waited patiently, ready to bloom again when spring returned to the human spirit. When the Meiji Restoration swept across Japan in the 1860s, many feared these delicate traditions would vanish forever. Western influences flooded in like an unstoppable tide, yet in the shadows of changing times, elderly grandmothers gathered their granddaughters close, whispering the ancient language of fans and flowers, teaching them that love, like water, always finds its way, even when the world above grows harsh and unfamiliar. In remote villages where modernity arrived slowly, families became the guardians of forgotten wisdom. Mothers would carefully unwrap silk fans, their painted scenes holding centuries of meaning. This gesture means longing, they would whisper. This fold speaks of hope. These intimate lessons passed from hand to heart, ensuring that even as Japan transformed, the soul of romantic expression remained alive, breathing quietly in kitchen corners and moonlit gardens. Community festivals became secret theaters of preservation. What appeared to be simple celebrations carried deeper currents. Young women still learned the subtle art of kimono arrangement, the way a sleeve might brush against bamboo, speaking volumes to those who remembered the old language. Elders watched with knowing smiles as ancient codes flickered to life, disguised as innocent tradition, protected within the embrace of collective memory. Even everyday objects became vessels of hidden meaning. A tea set arranged just so, cherry blossoms placed with particular care. These weren't mere decorations, but living letters of love. Families taught their children to read these silent messages, understanding that in a world growing loud with machinery and progress, the gentlest communications often carried the deepest truths, whispered through generations like precious heirlooms of the heart. In the quiet hours before dawn, grandmothers would share stories their own grandmothers had told them, tales of lovers who found each other through painted screens and folded papers. These weren't just romantic stories, but instruction manuals for the soul, teaching young hearts that love could survive anything: wars, separation, even death itself, as long as someone remembered how to speak its ancient, wordless language. As decades passed, these traditions evolved like living things, adapting to new circumstances while keeping their essential spirit. The fan language transformed, incorporating modern elements while preserving core meanings. Lovers found new ways to meet in secret, using train schedules instead of moon phases, yet the heart of it remained unchanged: that fundamental human need to connect beyond words, to touch souls across impossible distances. Stories emerged of couples who continued their clandestine meetings well into the 20th century, elderly lovers who still communicated through flower arrangements and lantern placements, their children often unaware of the deep romantic dialogue unfolding in their own gardens. These beautiful ghosts of Edo romance persisted, proving that true love recognizes no boundaries of time or tradition, finding expression in every era. Poets and artists became the secret keepers, embedding ancient romantic codes in their work. Haiku, that seemed to describe seasons but actually carried love letters. Paintings where every brushstroke held meaning. Through art, these traditions found immortality, speaking across centuries to anyone who learned to look with the eyes of the heart, preserving beauty in forms that time could never touch or destroy. As Japan entered the modern age, young people discovered new ways to honor old wisdom. Department stores became meeting places where subtle gestures could still convey deep feelings. Electric lights replaced lanterns, but still carried coded messages. The surface changed, but the depths remained, proving that human love is infinitely creative, always finding fresh expressions for eternal truths, adapting without losing its soul. Secret societies formed among women, not political or religious groups, but keepers of romantic wisdom. They met in tea houses and temple gardens, sharing techniques their mothers had taught them, preserving the subtle arts of silent communication. These informal networks ensured that even as the world grew louder, the gentle language of love remained alive, passed from heart to heart like a sacred flame. Through wars and reconstruction, economic booms and social upheavals, love found its way like water through stone. Couples separated by circumstances maintained their connections through ancient signals: a certain flower in a window, a fan positioned just so on a balcony, proving that the human heart recognizes no obstacles, that true connection transcends time, distance, and even the most dramatic changes of history. Today, in modern Japan, echoes of these ancient practices still ripple through daily life. The way someone arranges a lunchbox, the particular angle of a parasol. Older generations smile knowingly at gestures. Younger people perform unconsciously, understanding that some forms of beauty are so deeply embedded in culture they survive even when their original meanings fade, continuing to connect hearts across time. Cultural memory proved stronger than any force of change, like rivers that disappear underground only to emerge miles away. These romantic traditions flowed beneath the surface of modernization, surfacing in unexpected places: a grandmother teaching origami, the way cherry blossoms are still celebrated, the persistent power of subtlety in a world grown direct, reminding us that some treasures are too precious to lose. Communities understood instinctively that these traditions were worth protecting, not as museum pieces, but as living practices. They wove them into festivals and ceremonies, disguised them as cultural customs, ensured they remained vibrant rather than fossilized, understanding that love's language must continue evolving, growing richer with each generation that adds its own whispers to the eternal conversation, keeping ancient wisdom alive and breathing. And so these secret traditions survived, not unchanged but unbroken, like a river that finds new channels but never stops flowing. They remind us that love is perhaps humanity's most persistent force, capable of adapting to any circumstance, surviving any challenge, because the human heart will always seek connection, will always find ways to whisper its deepest truths across time, culture, and the endless march of change. Chapter 15, Beyond Time and Edo. As our journey through Japan's secret love traditions draws to a gentle close, we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of past and present. The whispered exchanges beneath cherry blossoms echo still in modern hearts. Those delicate fan gestures, those meaningful glances across lantern lit gardens, they haven't disappeared. They've simply transformed, carrying the same tender longing across centuries of human connection and devotion. In today's bustling Tokyo streets, lovers still find ways to speak without words. A gentle touch on the subway, a carefully chosen emoji that carries the weight of unspoken feelings. The art of indirect communication, so treasured in Edo times, lives on in subtle modern forms. Perhaps it's a playlist shared between hearts, or a photo taken at just the right angle. The language of love adapts, but its essence remains beautifully unchanged. The seasonal flowers that once adorned love letters in ancient Japan still bloom in contemporary gardens. Cherry blossoms continue to frame first kisses. Autumn maples witness quiet promises. Young couples in modern Kyoto walk the same stone paths where centuries ago lovers exchanged secret glances. The geography of the heart knows no era. It recognizes itself in every generation, in every whispered word, in every stolen moment, beneath the same eternal moon. Those intricate hair ornaments that once conveyed messages of desire have evolved into carefully chosen jewelry, a ring placed on just the right finger, a necklace worn close to the heart. The symbolism endures, though the symbols themselves have changed. Even the way modern lovers arrange flowers carries echoes of those ancient botanical conversations, each petal still chosen with intention, each color still speaking a language older than words themselves. The tea ceremonies that once brought hearts together in quiet intimacy find new expression in modern coffee rituals, two cups shared in comfortable silence, the careful attention to each other's preferences, the same mindfulness, the same gentle consideration, whether it's matcha whisked with devoted hands or espresso shared at dawn. The act of nourishing someone you cherish transcends time, connecting us to countless generations of lovers before us. In the digital age, the art of crafting the perfect message echoes those carefully composed love poems of old. Each text is considered, each word chosen for its weight. Modern lovers spend as much time perfecting a simple message as Edo poets spent on their verses. The medium has changed, but the desire to capture feeling in just the right phrase, that beautiful aching need to be understood completely, it remains as powerful as ever. The secret meetings in moonlit gardens have become quiet coffee dates in hidden corners of the city. Lovers still seek spaces away from prying eyes, still cherish those stolen hours where they can simply exist together. Whether beneath paper lanterns or city lights, the human heart yearns for the same intimacy, the same permission to be vulnerable, to whisper secrets that only one other soul will ever hear and understand completely. Those delicate gifts exchanged in Edo times, folded papers with hidden meanings, small tokens of affection, they live on in modern expressions, a photograph tucked into a wallet, a book with passages carefully underlined, a song saved in a private playlist, the impulse to give something small but meaningful, something that says, I was thinking of you. This tender compulsion connects lovers across every era, every culture, every corner of the human experience. The patient waiting that characterized Edo courtship finds new form in modern long distance relationships. Lovers separated by oceans still count days until reunion, still find meaning in delayed gratification, still believe that something precious is worth waiting for. The screens that connect us across continents carry the same longing as those letters carried by trusted messengers. Love has always been about bridging distance, about refusing to let space diminish devotion. The festivals and seasonal celebrations that once provided opportunities for romance continue to weave magic, street festivals, where eyes meet over shared laughter, winter illuminations that create perfect backdrops for confessions, spring cherry blossom viewings where new love blooms. These rituals persist because they speak to something fundamental in the human heart, our need to mark time together, to create beautiful memories against beautiful settings. The careful attention to appearance and presentation that marked Edo romance lives on in the way modern lovers dress for each other, choosing colors that complement, wearing scents that linger in memory. The desire to be beautiful for someone special transcends centuries. It's not vanity, but devotion, the wish to be worthy of the eyes that see us with love, to present our best self as an offering to another heart. Those whispered conversations in quiet alcoves find their echo in late night phone calls, voices soft with intimacy, words shared in darkness. Lovers still seek these sacred spaces, these moments when the rest of the world falls away, when two hearts can speak honestly about dreams and fears. The technology changes, but the human need for deep connection, for someone who truly listens, that remains beautifully, eternally constant across every generation. The protective nature of Edo's secret romances echoes in how modern couples shield their most precious moments, sharing private jokes, creating inside references, building a world that belongs only to them. This instinct to protect what we treasure most, to keep some things sacred and separate from the world's scrutiny. It connects us to every lover who ever held hands in shadows, who ever whispered, "This is ours alone." As we reflect on these timeless patterns, these beautiful consistencies in how hearts connect, we realize that love is humanity's most persistent language. It adapts to every culture, every era, every circumstance, yet always maintains its essential character. The Edo lovers who communicated through fans would recognize themselves in today's couples, would understand the coded messages, the patient waiting, the joy of finally being understood by another soul. Their stories live on in every modern romance, in every shared glance across a crowded room, in every carefully chosen word, in every gesture that says, "You matter to me." The traditions may seem distant, but they're actually as close as the nearest couple holding hands, as immediate as the next love song on the radio. as present as the warmth you feel when someone remembers exactly how you like your tea. And so our journey ends where all love stories truly begin, with recognition, with understanding that we are part of something beautiful and eternal, that the heart you carry has beaten in countless chests before yours, has whispered the same hopes, dreamed the same dreams. Tonight, as you rest, know that love endures, transcending time, transcending place, connecting every human heart in one endless gentle conversation. Sleep well, knowing you are part of this magnificent, timeless story.